My wife was quietly spending our savings on secret affairs while I worked extra hours just to keep us afloat. One night, after she returned from another so-called business dinner, she discovered that every trace of me had vanished from our home. But disappearing was only the first step. What I did afterward left them both with nothing. My name is Nelson Mitchell. I'm 47. Until 3 weeks ago, I believed I had a stable marriage, 2 wonderful children, and a life worth protecting. It turns out I was fighting alone. I work as a systems engineer at TechFlow Solutions here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been there 12 years. Good salary, solid benefits. A job that lets you rest at night knowing your family is secure. My wife, Becca, is a project manager at Highland Financial. She's intelligent, ambitious, and apparently an expert at keeping secrets. Our oldest, Tyler, is 17, the ideal teenage son, honor roll, varsity baseball, college plans. He inherited his mother's sharp mind and, I once thought, her integrity. Our youngest, Daniel, is 13 and exists in his own world. Autism struck him around age 4, and since then our lives have revolved around specialists, therapies, and the constant worry that we're falling short. Daniel needs structure, routine, and costly treatments that insurance covers only partially, like a paper umbrella in a hurricane. That's where our money went, or so I thought. 3 weeks ago, while organizing tax documents, I found receipts that didn't add up. Dinners for 2 at places I'd never visited. Charges at jewelry stores when Becca claimed she was in budget meetings. A hotel bill last month when she said she was visiting her sister in Atlanta. Sitting in my office, surrounded by proof of a life I no longer recognized, I felt something inside me die. Not break, just stop quietly. The smart move would have been to confront her immediately, demand answers, maybe salvage what was left. But I've learned over 47 years that I'm not the kind of man to fight for scraps of attention. I plan, I think, I act so that every move matters. I began watching, listening, taking notes as if I were debugging faulty code at work. Every late night, every weekend call that required her to drive to the office fully made up. Every time she smiled at her phone and quickly hid it when I entered the room. The pattern became clearer than any system analysis I'd run at TechFlow. Becca wasn't just cheating. She was funding it with money meant for our son's future. That's when I stopped being the good husband and became something else entirely. The surveillance started small. I checked our joint credit card statements each night after putting Daniel to bed. What I found made my stomach turn, not from surprise, but from the meticulous nature of it all. Becca wasn't just having an affair. She was living a double life and using our son's medical fund to finance it. Tuesday nights became routine. Late strategy sessions with the Highland team. She'd say, kissing my cheek and grabbing the expensive purse I'd bought her 2 Christmases ago, back when I thought gestures like that mattered. I began tracing the digital trail, restaurant charges at upscale places like Meridian Steakhouse and the Glass Tower, hotels in downtown Marriott. Always nights she claimed to work late. The breaking point was an $800 receipt for a men's watch. When I asked, she didn't even look up from her laptop. It's for Tyler's graduation gift, she said. Graduation wasn't for 6 months, and I'd already seen him wearing his grandfather's treasured watch. She lied calmly, the same tone she used discussing Daniel's therapy. That night, after she fell asleep, I accessed her phone. The password was Daniel's birthday, a cruel irony. Messages with someone labeled DH revealed everything. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Meridian reservation at 7. Thanks for the watch, beautiful taste. Nelson's working late again. A whole evening. DH was Derek Hartwell, her boss, vice president of Highland Financial. The man who sat at our Christmas table discussing family values while secretly planning to ruin mine. I screenshotted everything and emailed it to a private account I created. I returned her phone and lay next to my wife, staring at the ceiling, plotting my next move. The following night, I called my brother Joel, asking if I could stop by his auto shop after hours. Sure, Nelson. Everything okay? He asked over the phone. I need to ask you a favor, I said, watching Becca fix her hair in the bathroom mirror, getting ready for yet another team meeting. And I need you to keep it just between us. Joel had always been the grounded one in our family. When our father passed 5 years ago, he took care of every detail while I completely unraveled. If anyone could understand what I was planning, it was him. That evening, I drove to Joel's shop and laid everything out. The receipts, the text messages, the months of deception. Joel listened quietly, his rough hands resting on the workbench. "What do you need from me?" he asked when I was done. "Storage space," I said, "and maybe a place to stay when the time comes." Joel nodded slowly. "She's really throwing it all away, huh? The marriage, the family, everything you built." "She already has," I answered. "I'm just cleaning up what's left." The next morning, I called in sick to TechFlow for the first time in 3 years. I had things to do, and I couldn't wait any longer. While Becca was at Highland Financial, no doubt planning her next rendezvous with Derek, I began dismantling our life piece by piece. I started with the essentials: birth certificates, insurance policies, Daniel's medical files. Everything went into a fireproof box that I loaded into my truck. Tyler was at school, and Daniel was at his Tuesday session with Dr. Sarah Kane, giving me a 4-hour window. I moved through the house like a man preparing for battle, because, in truth, that's exactly what it was. Daniel's room was the hardest. His sensory toys, his weighted blanket, the special lamp that helped him sleep. I couldn't take everything without upsetting him, but I photographed each item and documented his routines in detail. If this went to court, I needed to prove I was his main caregiver. While going through Becca's jewelry box, I found another piece of evidence, a platinum bracelet I'd never seen before, with a receipt tucked beneath it. Dated last month. Another gift from Derek, bought with our family's money. My phone buzzed. A text from Joel. "Storage units ready. Unit 47. Combos Daniel's birthday." I packed the truck with boxes and headed to Joel's shop. He greeted me with coffee and a heavy look. "How you holding up?" he asked, helping me unload. "I'm focused," I said. "That's all that matters right now." Joel gave a short nod. "Good. Fall apart later, after you've won." We stored everything in the climate-controlled unit Joel had rented under his name. Locking it up gave me an odd sense of peace. For the first time in months, I was in control of something. That afternoon, I picked Daniel up from therapy. Dr. Kane stopped me before we left. "Nelson, I wanted to discuss Daniel's progress," she said. "He's been talking about changes at home. Children with autism are very sensitive to disruption." "What kind of changes?" I asked, though I already knew. "He said that Mommy is sad, and that you and Mommy don't talk much anymore," she explained. "Has there been tension at home?" I glanced at Daniel, who was lining up his toy cars by color, completely focused. My son already sensed the storm that was coming. "Dr. Kane, can I ask you something confidentially?" I said. "Of course," she replied. "If there were to be custody questions, what would be in Daniel's best interest?" She studied my face. "Daniel needs consistency and stability. He thrives with his primary caregiver, and from what I've seen, that's always been you." Her words hit me like a lifeline. Finally, someone saw what I knew all along. I was the one raising my son. "I'll keep that in mind," I said. That night, Becca came home late again, full of excuses about a client emergency. I smiled, nodded, pretending to be understanding while mentally adding another lie to the list. When she kissed Daniel goodnight, I watched her performance with new eyes. She was just acting now, going through motions with a heart that belonged somewhere else. After she fell asleep, I sat in my office and began writing the most important document of my life, a detailed record of everything I'd uncovered, complete with evidence. Tomorrow, I would take it to Patricia Vance, the family attorney Joel had recommended. The war was about to begin. The morning I disappeared from my own life, I woke at 5 a.m. and made coffee as if it were any ordinary Tuesday. Becca was still asleep. The house was quiet except for the sounds of our neighborhood waking up. I had been preparing for this for 2 weeks. Ever since my meeting with Patricia confirmed what I already knew. I had enough evidence to destroy both Becca and Derek if I played it smart. By 6 o'clock, I'd packed 3 moving boxes with my essentials and loaded them into my truck. The rest of my things were already in Joel's storage unit. I left behind only the items that would make my absence unmistakable: my favorite coffee mug, my reading chair, and the family photos where I appeared. Tyler left for school at 7:15, same as always. I hugged him a little longer than usual. "Dad, you okay?" he asked, noticing something in my face. "I'm fine, son. Just proud of the man you're becoming." He smiled and headed out, completely unaware that everything he knew was about to change. Daniel's schedule was sacred, and I followed it to the letter. Breakfast at 7:30, cartoons while I packed his backpack, then the short drive to his special education program. "Are we going home after school, Daddy?" Daniel asked as I walked him to class. You're going home, I said carefully. Mrs. Patterson will pick you up today, remember? He nodded. I'd arranged for our neighbor to collect him after school and stay until Becca came home from her dinner with Derek. I couldn't let him come back to an empty house and panic. By 8:45, I was home again. Becca was in the shower, getting ready for another day built on lies. I could hear her softly singing, probably thinking about her evening plans. I walked through the house one final time, methodically erasing every trace of myself. Tools from the garage, books from the shelves, even my prescriptions from the bathroom cabinet. By 9:30, she was dressed and sipping her coffee. I might be late tonight, she said, avoiding my eyes. Derek wants the whole team at a networking dinner. Of course he does, I replied calmly. She kissed my cheek and walked out the door, unaware she'd never see me in that house again. I spent the rest of the day finishing my exit plan, final bank transfers, setting up APO box, and one last conversation with Patricia Vance about what came next. Are you sure this is the route you want to take? Patricia asked. It's dramatic. She's been dramatic for months, I said. I'm just matching her energy. At 6 p.m., I placed my wedding ring on Becca's nightstand beside her expensive perfume, another gift I never bought her. Then I loaded the final box into my truck and drove to Joel's. At 8:15, Mrs. Patterson texted, Daniel's eaten and doing homework. Everything's fine here. At 9:43, my phone lit up. Becca's name flashed across the screen. She was home from dinner and had just discovered every trace of me was gone. I let it ring. 17 calls came in that first hour. I sat in Joel's living room, watching her name blink like a frantic warning light, but I didn't pick up. Each missed call was another nail in the coffin of her carefully crafted double life. Joel handed me a beer and sat down beside me. How long you gonna let her stew? He asked. Long enough for her to realize what she's lost, I said. She's probably tearing the house apart right now, trying to find an excuse that doesn't involve the truth. The first voicemail came at 10:15 p.m. Becca's tone was controlled, professional, like she was talking to a client. Nelson, I don't know what this is, but it's not funny. Call me back right now. Daniel's asking for you, and I don't know what to tell him. I deleted it halfway through. The second voicemail arrived 20 minutes later, her composure gone. Where the hell are you? Your clothes are gone. Your computer's gone. Even your coffee maker. If you think you can just vanish without explaining yourself, you're out of your mind. I'm calling the police. Let her call them. I hadn't done anything illegal. Unlike her, who'd been stealing from our son's medical fund to pay for her affair. Joel glanced at the phone as it buzzed again. She's persistent, he said. Desperation makes people persistent, I replied. She's probably realizing Derek's not leaving his wife. And now she's lost me, too. The third voicemail came just after midnight. This time, Becca was crying. Nelson, please. I know you're angry, but we can fix this. Daniel had a meltdown when he couldn't find you. He's asleep in our bed now, asking when Daddy's coming home. Please, for Daniel's sake, call me back. That one hit harder than I wanted to admit. My son needed stability, but I couldn't give him that while living inside a lie. He deserved a father who stood up for himself and for their future. Then my phone rang again. This time, it wasn't Becca. It was Tyler. Dad, where are you? He asked, his voice tight. Mom's freaking out. She says you disappeared, but people don't just disappear. Tyler, listen to me, I said. I'm safe, and I'm not far, but I can't come home right now. Why not? What's going on? I closed my eyes, hating that my 17-year-old was getting pulled into this. Your mom and I have serious things to work out, I said. I'll explain everything soon. Right now, I need you to look after Daniel. Dad, he's been crying for an hour. He doesn't understand why you're not here to read to him. Tell him I love him, I said quietly, and that sometimes adults have to make hard choices to protect the people they love. Tyler was silent for a few seconds. Does this have something to do with Mom's boss? Smart kid, sometimes too perceptive for his own good. Just look after your brother, I told him. I'll reach out soon. When I ended the call, Joel exhaled. Harder than you imagined, huh? Doing the right thing usually is, I said. But I'm not turning back now. She made her decision when she took money from Daniel's medical account to shower her lover with gifts. At 1 a.m., Becca left her final voicemail of the night. Her voice was hoarse, shattered in a way I'd never heard before. Nelson, I know why you left. I know about Derek. I'm sorry, so sorry. Please come home. We can fix this. Don't make the kids pay for my mistakes. Too little, too late. Regret only came once she'd been caught. I woke on Joel's couch at sunrise, my neck aching, my phone finally silent. For a brief moment, peace. No Daniel bouncing on the bed demanding pancakes. No Becca rushing around preparing to deceive me again. Then reality hit. I'd missed Daniel's morning routine, helping him dress, packing his special lunch. Joel appeared in the kitchen doorway, already ready for work. Coffee's on. How are you holding up? Like I just burned down my own life, I admitted. Sometimes that's the only way to rebuild something stable, Joel said, handing me a mug. What's the plan? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Dr. Sarah Kane. Dr. Kane, is everything okay? Nelson, I'm calling because Daniel missed his session. Rebecca brought him in, but he's highly distressed. He keeps asking for you, and it's affecting his therapy. My chest tightened. How bad is it? He's struggling with speech and showing regression. You know how kids with autism react to sudden changes. Dr. Kane, one question. If I pursue an emergency custody review, would you testify about Daniel's care? A long pause followed. Are you and Rebecca separating? Most likely, I said. I just want what's best for Daniel. I'd need to confirm my professional limits, she said softly. But yes, Daniel's well-being comes first. He's clearly most comfortable with you. When I hung up, Joel was studying me. Second thoughts. About leaving Becca? No. About Daniel, every minute. You can't go back to pretending, Joel said firmly. Just keep his routine steady. Kids are stronger than they look, especially with a parent who actually shows up. At 9 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She cried all night on my couch. Hope you're happy now. Derek Hartwell. The arrogance. I showed Joel, who gave a dark laugh. He's got nerve. I typed a short reply. Tell her to check her email. I'd prepared for this moment. An email packed with proof of their affair and a full accounting of the money she'd stolen from Daniel's fund to finance it. But I didn't send it to her. I sent it to Highland Financial's HR department, copying Derek's supervisor. Joel caught my expression. What did you do? Gave Derek something real to worry about, I said. By noon, HR will be grilling him on why he's been preying on his subordinates' wives. Moments later, my phone rang again. Becca, you sent that email to my company, she shouted, her voice trembling with rage. How could you do this to me? I didn't do anything to you, I said calmly. I just told the truth about what you did to our family. Derek's career is over. He's on leave. Good. Maybe now he'll think twice before destroying another family. Becca began to sob. Nelson, please. Come home. We'll get therapy. I'll quit. Whatever you want. What I want, I said, is for you to stop stealing from our son's medical fund. What I want is a wife who doesn't lie to my face every day. I ended the call before she could reply. The war had officially begun. 3 days after I vanished, Patricia Vance called with news that made my blood boil. Nelson, I finished the financial review, she said. It's worse than we thought. I was in Joel's garage, helping him rebuild an engine, trying to stay busy. How much worse? Becca had been diverting funds for 8 months, not 6. The total taken from Daniel's medical account exceeded $12,000. I set down my wrench and closed my eyes. $12,000. Nearly a year's worth of therapy for my son. There's more, Patricia continued. I found credit card charges for lavish gifts that match exactly with Derek Hartwell's birthday and promotion anniversary. She's been using Daniel's medical funds to buy presents for her lover. What kind of gifts? I asked, though part of me didn't want to hear. Custom watches, designer cufflinks, weekend trips to luxury resorts. All charged to the card meant for Daniel's care. A cold knot formed in my chest. This wasn't just betrayal. It was stealing from a disabled child. Patricia, I want you to report this to social services. That's serious, Nelson. Are you certain? She's been neglecting Daniel's medical needs to fund her affair. That's child endangerment. That afternoon, I watched from the parking lot as Becca picked Daniel up from school. She looked tired, defeated, but I felt no sympathy. She made her choices. Tyler texted me. Dad, Mom's been crying nonstop. She says she's sorry and that Derek dumped her. She wants to know if you'll meet her. I typed back. Derek dumped her because HR is investigating him. Tell Mom I'll speak through my attorney. That evening, Joel and I watched the news when my phone rang. Dr. Sarah Kane. Nelson, I'm calling about Daniel's upcoming state evaluation. What evaluation? Someone filed a report alleging medical neglect. Daniel scheduled for a comprehensive assessment to confirm his medical needs are being met. I felt both satisfaction and sadness. The process had started, but my son would endure scrutiny because of his mother's selfishness. Dr. Kane, will you be truthful with the evaluators about Daniel's care? I'll tell them you've been his primary caregiver since diagnosis. The records don't lie, Nelson. After hanging up, Joel studied me with respect. Playing hardball now, he said. She stole from a disabled child to buy gifts for her boyfriend. I replied. Hardball is all she deserves. The investigation moved faster than expected. Within a week, a caseworker, Mrs. Henderson, arrived at our house to interview Becca and evaluate Daniel. I knew because Tyler texted, Dad, a lady from the state is here asking Mom about Daniel's care. She's freaking out. That afternoon, Mrs. Henderson called me directly. Mr. Mitchell, I need to speak about Daniel's care. Of course. What do you need? I've reviewed his records and noticed a concerning pattern. Several therapy sessions were canceled due to non-payment, and recommended equipment was delayed for months. That equipment wasn't delayed by circumstance. It was because my wife spent the money elsewhere, I said calmly. I can provide 8 months of credit card statements showing medical funds were diverted to restaurants, hotels, and luxury items while Daniel's therapy bills went unpaid. Mrs. Henderson was silent for a moment. Would you be available to meet tomorrow to discuss Daniel's best interests? The next day, I met her at a neutral family services office downtown Charlotte. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. Mr. Mitchell, I'll be direct, she said, reviewing a thick folder. Based on my investigation, you have been Daniel's primary caregiver while your wife's attention was elsewhere. That's a polite way to say his medical needs were compromised. Dr. Kane confirmed your attendance at every appointment, managing his therapy schedule, and handling all communication with his medical team. Daniel is my priority, I said simply. Mrs. Henderson nodded. I recommend temporary custody to you, pending divorce proceedings. His routine and medical care should not be disrupted further. Relief mixed with sadness. Victory, but at what cost? What about my wife? I asked. She will have supervised visitation until she demonstrates that Daniel's needs come first, Mrs. Henderson replied. That evening, I called Tyler to explain. Dad, does this mean you're coming home? He asked hopefully. Not yet, son. But Daniel will stay with me at Uncle Joel's until we decide the next steps. What about Mom? I sighed. Your mother made choices that hurt Daniel. Now she has to face the consequences. Tyler was silent for a long moment. I saw the credit card statements, Dad. She spent more on one dinner with her boss than on Daniel's therapy equipment. I know, Tyler. I know. Are you going to divorce her? Yes, I said without hesitation. Some things cannot be forgiven. 2 months after my disappearance, Highland Financial terminated Derek Hartwell for gross misconduct and misuse of company resources. The investigation revealed he had been using corporate accounts to fund relationships with 3 different subordinates' wives over the past 2 years. Patricia called while I was helping Daniel with his morning therapy exercises in our new apartment. Derek's not just fired, she said. Highland is considering criminal charges for embezzlement. Apparently, your wife wasn't his first victim. What about the other families? 2 other divorces are pending. One husband is seeking custody due to financial neglect of his special needs child. I felt no satisfaction in Derek's downfall, only relief that other families might get justice. The custody hearing came. As Patricia predicted, Mrs. Henderson's report devastated Becca's case. 8 months of documented medical neglect while she spent thousands on her affair. Your Honor, the judge said, reviewing the evidence. This pattern shows a clear preference for personal gratification over a disabled child's medical needs. Becca's attorney argued she had been manipulated by Derek, but the financial records told the truth. Every lavish dinner, hotel stay, and luxury purchase had been her decision. The judge awarded me full custody of Daniel, with Becca receiving supervised visits twice a week. After the hearing, Becca approached me. Nelson, I know you hate me, but please don't turn Daniel against me. I don't hate you, I said honestly, but I'll never trust you again. Daniel needs stability, and I can provide that. Tyler chose to live with me full-time. At 17, he was old enough to decide, and he had seen enough of his mother's lies. "Dad, I respect how you handled this," he told me that evening. "You didn't lose your temper or act rashly. You just collected facts and let the truth speak. That's what men do. We protect our families, even when it's hard." 8 months later, Daniel and I had settled into a stable routine. Our apartment was smaller than the house, but it was honest. No lies, no secrets, no confusion. Daniel's therapy progress was remarkable since removing the financial stress. Dr. Kane said his improvements were due to having a stable caregiver who prioritized his needs. His anxiety had decreased significantly. Tyler graduated with honors and earned a partial scholarship to UNC Charlotte. He lived at home the first year to help with Daniel while pursuing engineering. "I want to be like you, Dad," Tyler said. "Someone who keeps his word and takes care of family." Becca completed her court-ordered counseling and financial accountability classes. She now sees Daniel twice a week for supervised visits and is learning to genuinely engage with him. Tyler noted after one visit that she seemed to finally understand what she had lost. "I began seeing Dr. Amanda Ross, who recently moved to Charlotte. She understood the challenges of raising a special needs child and respected my sacrifices for Daniel. You're an exceptional father," Amanda told me over dinner. "Daniel is lucky to have someone who fought so hard for his future." Last weekend, Tyler, Daniel, and I went fishing at Lake Norman. Daniel caught his first base and spent 20 minutes describing every detail. Tyler laughed at his brother's excitement. For a moment, we felt like a complete family again. "Daddy," Daniel said as we packed up, "I like our new life. It's quiet and safe." "Me too, son. Me too." Looking back, I realized Becca didn't break our family. She revealed what it truly was: a father who would fight for his children, a teenage son with integrity beyond his years, and a special boy who just needed someone to put his needs first. Some endings are actually beginnings. This was one of them.